Wander Wealthy Podcast, episode 272. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Wander Wealthy Podcast. My name is Tess Wicks. I'm the host of this show, founder of Wander Wealthy, and financial coach turned business coach for you, for all my fellow money coaches out there in the world. Whether you're brand new to the business of money coaching or you've been doing it for a while, this is the show, the podcast, the episode for you to be tuning into. I'm trying not to get too excited or, speak too loudly because I'm in a new room. My husband and I have finally swapped offices, and his office has really high ceilings. It's really open. It's a little echoey. So pardon any echoes that you might hear, but it's a fun little new setup. I think it's fun to kind of switch things up every now and then. And I'm just excited to bring you a new episode of the Wander Wealthy Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about things to stop doing when it comes to launching and creating your money coaching offer. So right now, we're really focused on offer creation because there's a brand new program that I am launching so soon. You do not want to miss this. And it's all about creating your financial coaching framework. It's the Coaching Framework Builder, and it's a self-paced program that you can go through and follow the steps, the exact steps I teach my clients inside of the Wealthy Coach Blueprint on how to actually create your own coaching methodology that is rooted in your ideal clients and your niche and their needs of what they need and ultimately want to achieve in working with you. And also then being able to take that and package it into a actual results driven program, a program that's going to get results, that's going to actually be impactful. And your clients, I think your clients will be none the wiser, but you'll feel so much more confident and so much more kind of in your authority in being able to deliver this tangible program to those who are paying to work with you. So if you're interested in joining this program, I implore you to head to wanderwealthy.com/framework. There you can jump on the wait list if you are timely enough. If you aren't, you might just get sent right to the webpage that will tell you more about the program and give you an opportunity to get inside. That's how close we are to getting this thing up and running. So wanderwealthy.com/framework. This is a 5-week self-paced program, but you have lifetime access so that you can kind of take it at your own speed. Of course, I am all about accountability and kind of holding your finger to the flame to make sure that you're actually taking that action and taking the time to implement and follow through, because that's how you get results. And that's how you're going to create your own signature framework and be able to sell your own program. But you do have lifetime access, and it's one of the most, I think, intimate ways to work with me without working directly with me while I take maternity leave starting in October. So wanderwealthy.com/framework, jump on the wait list to be the first to know when it is officially launched. I'm telling you, it's like we're days away. Otherwise, you'll go to that webpage and it'll already be launched. All right, let's get into the show. So things to stop doing when you are launching and creating a program. And these are things that I've seen lots of people get stuck on. I've personally gotten stuck on them, and they're kind of like mistakes, but ultimately they're things that really just make you get in your own way when it comes to the ultimate goal, which is to get clients, to make a difference in their lives. And also, ideally, because we're in this for business purposes, to make money and actually be able to run this thing like a business. All right. So I have 5 things, and we're just going to rattle through them, and hopefully there are things that you can drop. And if I can, I'm going to offer kind of ways to move through these obstacles or ways to get around these, maybe their beliefs or just sticking points, if you will. All right. So number one thing to stop doing is creating your framework and your program and really ideating it before talking to any of your ideal clients. Okay, this is difficult because I think most of us do this, right? When you think about, oh, I'd love to be a money coach and I'd love to create like a course for people to go through, we really start, our brain just starts working and we start brainstorming and writing things down. And okay, you can absolutely do that. But a lot of people get married to an idea that they have. They get married to a process. They might even come up with like a little acronym and then tie in maybe the steps of their process to that acronym and really want to build a program around that. And although that's fun and your brain is definitely working, it's dangerous because if we haven't taken the time to really understand who it is that's ultimately going to be buying this program and going through it and their needs and desires, then we're creating something that's never going to sell. And even if it does sell because we're really good salespeople, the effectiveness of the program might not hit. It might be perfect. You might happen to know your ideal clients inside and out, but most of us don't. Most of us who actually go through the process of talking to our ideal clients and asking the right questions and getting all that data are shocked at what we really need to be including. And I would say that I think a lot of us overcomplicate our programs and we, almost put too much into it or maybe make it too advanced. And that's what actually keeps people from investing because they're afraid that they might not be at the right point in their financial life to be able to join the program. Or it keeps them from getting results because they're not really there. And so the program isn't a good fit for where they're at, even if you might be an amazing marketer and seller, and that's how you're able to get people inside. So creating it before talking to any of your ideal clients means that we're ultimately guessing at what we believe our ideal clients need and want. Then we spend so much time kind of in that brainstorming planning phase and put it all together and then launch. And we launch to crickets because no one is actually, that's not what they need or want, or one or the other. And it really keeps us from seeing the results that we're looking for. Okay. So don't do that. Instead, talk to your clientele. This is a big step that we cover inside of the Coaching Framework Builder because it is so, so crucial that we build a program around the client, because ultimately when you have a business, your client is the basis for your business, just like customers are the basis for, people who, I always use like Coca-Cola as an example, but I don't know, like Target shoppers, they're the basis for why Target exists, right? And so Target will do things, even though Target's like such a broad and vast brand, I probably shouldn't even talk about them, but they still have an ideal shopper and they still, design their stores and the layout and put things in the front versus the back to specifically target, though, no pun intended, to specifically target those individuals because they know that they're the majority of the people who are coming in the stores and doing the shopping, right? So we build this stuff around our clientele. And if we're creating it before we even talk to our clientele, and maybe you're like, well, I'm kind of an evolved version of my clientele, that's great, but you might not remember because you're no longer in the trenches fighting the good fight. You might not remember what you need and want. And so actually taking that extra step to go out and talk to them is going to pay off in droves. All right. The second thing to stop doing when you're in the process of creating and also launching your program is building it out entirely before you get any sales. This is always a shocker to people. It scares them a lot because they feel for whatever reason that if it's not built out, then it's not valuable. Or if it's not fully kind of realized and fully like a functioning program that they've already created, for whatever reason, then they're like scamming people. When in fact, like you can have a an ideated program that you haven't spent hours upon hours upon hours recording the video lessons or the audio trainings or creating the workbooks or, like doing all of the heavy lifting work when no one has paid for it yet. Okay, this is called pre-selling, and it's something that people do in lots of different industries. I mean, if you think about Kickstarter, right? Kickstarter.com, I think people use that for a lot of different things now, but it was initially created so that people would ultimately fund an idea and then they would be able to use those funds to go out and actually create the idea. And then the people who are backers on Kickstarter would be like, they would get the thing that was created plus so much more. I remember a roommate of mine had funded a Kickstarter for like the best raincoat in the world or something. And it had like all these pockets and bells and whistles. And she had put money up front to basically invest in this company in a way. It wasn't an investment. It was more of like, okay, I'm going to just like pre-buy this. And then they, once they went out and created it, because they had all the funds from their backers or Kickstarters or however they're called, then they would deliver it. And so in a way, you're going to be doing that. And this happens a lot in also the like software and tech industry and startup industry in general. And it can also happen in the digital education coaching industry where you're selling the ideation of your idea, you're selling the transformation and the framework that you can articulate once you've developed that. And now people are buying into it and then you create it as you go. And the beautiful thing about, coaching is that technically you don't have to deliver anything, but we do coaching a little bit differently here and actually offer, some form of education because that's a key part of what I believe a coaching relationship is. And so what's beautiful though is because it's all digital, you're able to like create it rather quickly and deliver it when it needs to be delivered. You don't have to deliver the education and all of it right on the spot. You can drip it out and you can also delay your start date with clients. And that's a whole process that I teach my clients to do because it is so much more valuable for you to wait until you get sales to start actually building out your program. You can then validate that your ideation and your framework actually sticks for your ideal clientele. And B, you're going to get so much more information and inspiration and ideas when you're actually working with your clients. And maybe that doesn't come for like the first step that you're building out, but when you deliver that first step and your clients start asking you questions or giving you feedback, that might give you ideas for additional things to put into your next steps. And that is the beautiful thing about kind of building it as you go. So a lot of people have fear around this because they feel like, maybe it's a little scammy or something, but I actually argue that it's far more valuable for you to wait to build it out until you have paying clients who are going through and kind of building it with you. And you can be open and transparent about that. And people are not bothered by that, especially when they know, this is most likely your beta program. You most likely sold it as such. And they actually enjoy being kind of part of that creation process because they know now I'm getting the most personalized build out of this program because he is basically building it for me. That's the magical thing about being able to do that. And the magical thing about the digital kind of education and coaching space that we are in is that the turnaround of what we're creating can happen so quickly because we don't have, inventory or engineering that we have to figure out. What we're really selling is education and information and tools that can all be created digitally, can be created fairly quickly, and can go out into the world, and then we can improve upon them. All right. So don't build it out entirely before you get any sales. That could be an enormous waste of time. And you might get lucky and it might not be, but I know that most of us, we are a little bit of kind of perfectionists. We want to overanalyze things. And so it takes a lot of time to get things fully realized. And if you spend all that time and it doesn't hit, then you're in for a rude awakening. And I mean, worst cases, it's just extremely discouraging. And I'd rather have you get that validation that people want this program and then build it, because now, again, your finger's to the flame and you got to deliver. All right. The third thing to stop doing while launching and creating your program, this is gonna be tricky for you, getting stuck on the name or the names, or, a lot of what I kind of call like the $2 problems. But the name is like the perfect summary of what a $2 problem is. So naming your program, can it be important? Yes. Like, you need to make sure that it ultimately tells people what it is, right? We don't want to confuse people. So we don't want to be way off base, but so many of us want to be like cute and use an acronym or alliteration or something, that it gets us so caught up in this idea of like, oh my gosh, I cannot think of a name. And it's such a $2 problem because it's a decision that needs to be made fast and decisive, like, really just being decisive. I don't know how else to say it. Like, just deciding and moving on. Because when you get stuck on the name, you're kind of stuck on like a non-issue. And here's the deal. You can always change the name later on down the road. It's not that big of a deal. You might think it is, but you just change the name and you move forward. Like, I've changed the name of this podcast before, and most people don't even remember what it used to be called. Heck, I hardly remember what it used to be called. But you just have to, I don't want to say be confident, but be decisive in choosing something. And it can be as kind of boring and descriptive as like my first program was the money program. Is that the most, amazing thing, amazing name that I could have come up with? No. But ultimately, it was just about picking something and moving forward, because that's not the moneymaker. And so it's a $2 problem. It's a problem that like is not even going to pay off that great when you do ultimately solve it. The name is not going to sell the program itself. So yes, take a little bit of time, try to come up with a name that makes sense for your ideal clients and ultimately kind of offers them what they desire, like tells them what it is that they're going to get at the end of it. So, I thought about that with the Wealthy Coach Blueprint. My clients are coaches. They consider themselves coaches. They want to be wealthy coaches. And it's also a little bit of a play on words because we're also talking about money coaches here. And ultimately what I'm offering them is a blueprint to become that wealthy coach. So I really thought about that a lot. But also it was one that I kind of thought about. And then I said, yep, we're going with it. We'll revisit it if we need to. But luckily it paid off for me. So don't get stuck on those $2 problems, something like the name, something like, getting the perfect website up or, making everything look pretty and all of those things. You can always tweak those later, and they're not the most important thing right now. The most important thing is validating that your ideation, your framework that you've come up with, ultimately the idea and the concept of your program is actually going to work. People actually want it. They want to buy it. They are investing in it, and then ultimately delivering it. And then you can always revisit the name and, how things look later on down the road. Okay. So don't get stuck on the name or any other $2 problems for that matter. The fourth thing to stop doing is waiting until you have the funds or resources to invest in the fancy software in order to deliver your program. So there's a lot of different things that you can pay for in order to be able to deliver a program. And I think a lot of people get really in their head when it comes to, okay, I had someone sign up, but now I need an online course software. And now I need to invest in a really good webcam and a microphone, and I need to buy a type of software to be able to actually record videos and screen record and all of this stuff. And here's what I have to say about that. You can actually build a program, like actually create it. Once you get your initial investors, aka your initial clients, those initial sales, you can actually create your program for less than $100 a year. I know that's crazy. It does require you to be a little bit scrappy, but you could absolutely do it. And that's how I teach my clients to do it. Now, you don't have to. If you have the funds, if you have the resources, there are things that you can pay for to, be able to deliver your program. But I've come up with kind of a solution for my ideal clients to help them deliver their entire coaching offering without needing to spend a lot of money. And again, that's the beauty of this digital business and this digital space and being in coaching and really like the information and education space is that the barrier to entry is super low from a like financial needs perspective. So you can absolutely build your program without fancy software. And the funny thing is, I find that it's not just the financial resources that you might need in order to get up and running with this software, but also the time. It takes time to figure out these things and to get everything set up and working appropriately and getting your clients to understand and learn how to use them, that sometimes it's not worth it. And it's much better to just keep things simple, keep things cheap, if you will, but more so leveraging what is already available to you to be able to deliver this. So you do not need to wait until you have those funds. You do not need to wait until you have the time or find a way to like block off a ton of time. There is a much quicker program creation process that I teach. And I also teach, additional ways that you can create your program with a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, depending on what your priorities are. But it shouldn't be something that keeps you stuck. It shouldn't be something that gets in the way. Okay. And the fifth and final thing, maybe not final, but final for today, for this week's podcast, to stop doing when you are launching or creating a program is launching without a framework, okay? Launching without a methodology, without a process, without a system. And what I mean by that is like the framework or process or methodology of your coaching and how it's basically going to help your clients visualize and tangibly realize the transformation they're looking to achieve in their financial lives. So a framework is so powerful, and it's something that is almost invaluable once you have it as an asset in your business and you've taken the time to create it. And of course, you don't want to create your framework without talking to your ideal clients. That's part of the process, but you also don't want to just go out and launch without a framework. Believe me, I've done it. It's hard. And to sell your program that way, it's possible. I've sold my own coaching programs without a framework in place. And I'm amazed every time I remember the clients who invested with me in those early days. But I just really didn't know that I could create a framework. I didn't know that I was in a place that, I could actually say, hey, I've invented or I've curated this process to really help my ideal clients achieve their desired result. And that would have helped me feel far more confident about my coaching, probably would have helped my clients feel far more confident about our invested relationship that we had together. But I just really didn't know. And now that I know better, I know that having a framework, having a methodology, having a process is, again, one of the best assets you can have within your business for your signature program, for your kind of like one-on-one, high level, high touch, but also for anything else that you might want to sell and launch in the future. So don't miss out on this. And if you want the step-by-step process that I teach my clients to do in order to design and build their frameworks and then ultimately deliver that into a package, a program that actually makes a difference in their clients' lives and is effective when it comes to coaching, then jump over to wanderwealthy.com/framework to learn more about how you can join this self-paced program that I am launching that's going to teach you my 4-step process to creating your own coaching framework, the coaching framework builder. All right. So also, side note, in the coaching framework builder, I teach you how to deliver your program without the fancy software. And I also share some of the fancy software you might be interested in. I break them down. I show how-to videos so you know exactly how to use these things and how you can be scrappy if you want to be when it comes to ultimately delivering a program that appears to be very high value and ultimately is high value, but without the, thousands of dollars that many people will pour into a program delivery or course delivery software that they might be, producing regardless of the value of the content. So you're going to create really high value content and program deliverables. And then I'm going to show you how to actually deliver it in a way that looks great to your clients, and your clients are going to, thank you for, because not because really of the look and feel of the delivery, but because of how amazing your program is and how much of a difference it's going to make in their lives. So I'm teaching you everything inside of this 4-step program. So you're not going to want to miss it. If you're new or aspiring money coach, or you're a seasoned coach who's like, how does this work? How do you create these programs? How do you make them scalable? How do you make sure that they're impactful on your clients? How do you make sure that your process or your framework fits? Then this is for you. And I created it for you, especially while I go on maternity leave. So head to wonderwealthy.com/framework to join the waitlist or find out more about the program once it does launch. And that's that. As always, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And until next time, I hope you wander wealthy.